Hello friends, welcome back to my channel and welcome to the end of year book tag. It is the end of the year, in case anyone hasn't told you, and I'm excited. I love November and December. It is, as I'm filming this, the beginning of November, and I'm just really looking forward to these last couple months of the year. It's the festive season, and if you can hear the rain outside, I do have my window open, but please just consider it added ambiance for the video, okay? So I wanted to sit down and do a little end of year book tag. This was created by Ariel Bissett, who I love, and she, I guess, redid the questions. I've never done this tag before, but she redid the questions this year, which I saw her answer on Books Unbound, her podcast. So I've written down the questions. We're just gonna get into them and go through them. So here we go. So the first question is, are there any books you started that you need to finish? And I have started a few. I don't normally abandon books. I have kind of a hard time DNFing books in general, but there is one that I've just been reading very slowly because it's poetry, and that is the Selected Poems of Robert Frost, and it's this beautiful illustrated edition. I love this book. I think I got it years ago at Barnes & Noble, probably because it was on sale in that section with like the big kind of gift books that are always on sale. But it just has all of these beautiful illustrations inside, and so I've been reading this pretty slowly, and sometimes I forget about it, that I'm reading it. But I would really like to finish it before the end of the year, so I'm only that far into it. I'm on page like 55, but I am really enjoying it, and I enjoy it whenever I sit down and read it. So I would like to just kind of consistently, maybe daily, every other day, pick it up and read another poem. So this is one that I would like to finish by the end of the year, and I do feel like it is like great reading for the atmosphere and like the darker months. I feel like this is perfect, so that should be fun. Okay, the next question, I have them all like written down in my little notebook here. The next question is, are there any autumnal books to transition you into the end of the year? So it is November, like I said, so we are a little bit into the end of the year already, but the book that I thought of for this, which I read last month in October, was Sword Heart by T. Kingfisher. So this was my first T. Kingfisher, and I really liked this. So this is, it says on the inside, a delightful fantasy romance between a widowed housekeeper and her unlikely sworn protector, who is Sarkis, who is trapped inside of a sword, or like his life is tied to the sword, because when she takes the sword out comes Sarkis, and he appears before her, and then when she puts the sword back in, Sarkis disappears, he goes back into the sword. So it's a very cozy fantasy with romance and a little bit of adventure, and like there are stakes, but they don't feel too dire. This was a great time. I really, really liked this, and I would definitely be interested in reading more from T. Kingfisher. And I think this was the perfect transition into the fall season. The third question is there a new release you're still waiting for? And honestly, the only one I can think of is, I think it's called Brimstone by Callie Hart, and it's the sequel to Quicksilver. That one I am interested in, but mostly I feel like at the end of the year I kind of forget about new releases, and it's the time where I start thinking, oh my gosh, there are so many books that I meant to read this year that I haven't gotten to. So I quick have to read them, or they're gonna be part of my 2026 TBR, which is primarily the case, but Brimstone, I am looking forward to that one. The fourth question is, what are 3 books you want to read before the end of the year? And I have them here for you. The first is People Watching by Hannah Bonham Young. I read Out on a Limb from this author, and I have yet to read a second book from her, so this one came out recently, a little while ago this year, and I like the cover a lot. I've heard some mixed reviews, so I'm interested to see what I think of it. And then the next one is Mate by Ali Hazelwood. Again, I read Bride last year. I thought it was fine, but I feel like I've heard people who thought Bride was fine really like this one, and then people who loved Bride aren't liking this one maybe quite as much. So I thought Bride was fine. So I have high hopes that I'm really gonna like this one. Maybe I'll prefer it, but we shall see. And then the third that I picked out is Days in the Murasaki Bookshop, because this is a Books Unbound book that I've heard a lot about from Ariel and Raylene, so I thought it would be fun to include it here. And this is super short. I feel like this would be a great one for either the end of the year or the beginning of the year, and it just seems very like cozy and like it'll fit really well with the vibe of November and December. All right, the next question number 5, is what trends have you noticed in your reading this year? And so I was kind of looking at all of, my read books this year, and I think I would say that I think I have read a little bit less fantasy this year. Like I've still read some, but I think I read maybe fewer fantasy books than I did last year. But the other main thing that I've noticed is that I've read a lot of series this year. So like I read the Heartless Hunter duology at the beginning of the year. I read the Summer I Turned Pretty series this year. And I also read, it's kind of been the year of Magnolia Parks for me. So I read the first Magnolia Parks book in January, and then I've also done a reread of 3 of the books. So literally almost every month this year I have read a Magnolia Parks or Daisy Hates book, which is kind of crazy. So that has definitely been a theme I've noticed. And I've also continued some series as well. So like the Veronica Speedwell series, for example, I think I've read 3 more books in that series this year. So it's just kind of been a year of series, which is fun. I feel like, I used to read a lot of series growing up, and so it's been fun to kind of delve into some series this year for sure. All right, the next question is, how do you feel about your reading goals? Anything you want to change, adjust, or abandon? I feel like in general, I'm very casual with my goals, because if I'm too strict with my goals, even though they're self-assigned, it still feels like homework, and then I don't want to do them. So I have to be very sort of casual with my goals. I feel like I always set my reading goal at 50 books, because at this point I do feel like it's very achievable. So then anything I do over that is fine. Even if I kind of have a mental goal at the back of my mind, I still always set it at 50. I don't know why. And really my other main goal this year was to read books off of my physical TBR, which, to be fair, I do feel like I have a sense that I did a pretty good job. But if there were anything to adjust, I think maybe I would be more specific and intentional about tracking it. Maybe not too strict, but maybe a little more focused and specific about that goal, and like how many books off of my physical TBR I want to read, or something like that. So I would love to know your reading goals, if you've started planning for next year, if you don't ever set any goals and you just see where the wind takes you. Like, what's your kind of philosophy on reading goals? I would love to hear. Okay, and then the last question is, have you started making reading plans for next year? And I feel like at the end of the year I do start to anticipate reading next year already, just because it's like a fresh start and it's so exciting. I have not picked out any specific books that I'm planning to read, because I am such a mood reader. That would just not work well for me. But I have made a bingo board for myself, kind of actually inspired by Raylene from Books Unbound's Shrek Quest. She made a Shrek Quest for this year, and so I was thinking, like, what do I know enough about to make a whole bingo board / quest, reading quest out of? And I thought Twilight. That was literally the first thing that came to mind. And then some other things also came to mind. So I have some others in the works, but I have made a Twilight reading bingo board slash quest of my own. And I'm pretty excited about it. It's, again, not gonna be strict. I specifically designed it so that I will probably easily fill out the whole thing throughout the year based on what I naturally am going to read. So it's just a bit of fun, but I did do that and it was a really fun project. So highly recommend if you just want to kind of spice up your reading life, do a little fun reading related project. It's very fun. Think of what you know a lot about and then just like create prompts off of that. So much fun. So that is the end of the end of year book tag. Please feel free to answer any of the questions down below. I would love to know your answers, and I will see you in a video coming very soon. Bye.